just kind of how to think about what that stamp's going to do and what you want it to look like, right? And so I found out, and this is my simple mind, you know, and that's what happens when you're from Minnesota. You don't really think too in depth about stuff. But here I've got a stamp where it's the sort of positive and the negative. And I really like when this, you know, that texture is popping out from the surface versus going into the surface. But it's that one you need to get this stuff. I mean, this is really dumb. I realize that.
And you can make the one from the
but it's for some reason where my mind really struggles is, okay, which side of this texture do I use? And it's just the easiest thing in the world. Whichever side you like the most, yeah, stamp that, because you're going to get the negative of that, right? So this inside texture, I don't care much about, but the outside texture is really kind of interesting. So the way I use these stamps is on the wheel, usually for cups or vases or smaller objects. And so they don't need to be very big, but this could really end up being whatever you wanted it to be, or whatever size it needed to be.
Are these yours, Shar?
So I'll get the stamp ready, and having a nice clean surface here is ideal. It's going to get bigger than this, and so I'm sort of thinking about it being a little smaller than I wanted at this point. And then I've got what I tell my Saturday morning kids. So I got blessed with that class now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't tell us before now.
Well,
I'm down here every Saturday.
Jesse called me and said, do any of your graduate students want to teach the kids class on Saturday mornings? And I thought about that for a second, and oh my God, no. No, one of them's not sure if he's coming or going. The other one looks like the devil himself. And the other one it doesn't hardly ever say a word. So, yeah. I'm like,
Especially
no.
if they drink Friday night.
I love these guys.
Saturday morning.
They're going to probably see this video, too. Of course. But I'm like, well, okay, I got to do it. I wanted the money.
So we can come in on
But I
Saturday
tell,
morning and harass
sorry.
you?
Yes, you should do that. It'd be fun. I tell the kids that this is my magic non-stick powder,
What's in your magic nonstick powder?
cornstarch.
Okay.
Or break it. So
It's like a great peanut butter cookie.
That's what I expect next Thursday.
come on. And so from here, what I do is I like that surface to be a little rounded. I don't want it to be perfectly flat, because I don't like those edges to ever really show.
Yeah, well, that's
I don't want to see that roundness. So I always sort of just start pulling down on the edges and rotating, and that kind of bows it out real nice. And you're kind of pulling those edges down all the way around.
Yeah, that's one thing I've found I don't like about stamps I've made, is that it looks like a circle on there.
Right. And this helps. This definitely helps that. So, and then it's just about bringing it down to a size that will fire. You know.
Yeah. Well, do you hollow out the handle?
Yeah. And I'll.
So you do fire your stamps?
Yes. Yeah. You want to bisque fire them for sure. They'll still be really porous and absorb most of the water that you're using. And then, you know, like when I'm doing them, usually it's, you know, I'm making 25, 50 cups or whatever it is, and so, you know, I've got a selection of maybe 12 stamps that I like to use, and it seems like if I cycle through one at a time, by the time I get back around to that first one, it's dried out enough to use it again. But then there's also the cornstarch, so
Magic pepper.
it slows you down a little bit. And then, because that handle is sort of thick, just take and poke a hole down inside, and that'll help let the steam escape, or any moisture that never really comes out of there. It'll escape through that little hole.
How far down do you go?
I try not to risk going through. I mean, I guess you could measure it. Like right now, I'm right there.
Okay,
That's
you're
probably
kinda-
enough. Yeah. And then even, like if I thought this was too thick, maybe a couple of vents along here, just to be safe.
But that won't weaken it later when you use.
Not unless you do a whole bunch of them. Yeah, it's fine. And then that just goes to the back and dries out and get fired whenever Zach's comfortable enough to putting it in the kiln. And so using them, I should have a towel. Come here, there's a towel right there.
It's used.
I'll use Charlene's and make it real nasty.
There's an even smaller one here.
So in this situation, I'm going to go as thin as I want to with the floor because I'm not going to trim. And I'm going to throw a cylinder that's a bit thicker than I want it to be. It's also going to be quite a bit narrower than I want it to be. And then one of the tricks to getting all the clay off the bottom of the pot is opening the well up farther than you plan on it being. So as you're throwing, you're actually shrinking the diameter down, and that'll help you get some of that extra clay off the bottom. So my first pull, I really push that bottom in a lot. Fix the lip. Compress that lip each time, for sure. It'll help keep things centered too. And then I'll come in some more with that bottom. Again, I'm thinking about keeping these walls a bit thicker than I want them. I'm going to wet the inside a little bit. Rib the outside to compress that clay together, so as I open it up in the end, it doesn't want to tear. This also takes all that slip off that would be a problem for the stamping process.
Is that just compressing it, making
Yep, compressing and making it a little more plastic, so as I pull it open it won't tear. I want to put those little fissures in it as it stretches. And then maybe one final pass with the metal rib just to get that last little bit of moisture off. And you could, I mean, stamping them wet like this works. Another way to do it would be to maybe make 10 and then go back to the first one, put it back on the wheel, and then stamp it. Thinking that surface would dry off a little bit. There's always cornstarch.
it's always magic pepper.
And so this is my stamp for the hippies of the world, a Birkenstock pattern.
Gee, did that come off of Birkenstock?
I have a collection of Birkenstocks. Have I said that before? Yeah, I've got pairs and pairs that I've saved over the years. My wife tried to start throwing them out. That was a mistake. So if you're into precision and making really tight pots, this isn't going to be for you. You're not going to like this method very much. But you can bring it back around pretty well. A little work. And then it just becomes about working that inside, trying to leave that outside alone. It helps to tighten up your leg, brace off of your leg with your arm, and then hold your inside hand. And then I'm also, one of the little things I'm doing is I'm controlling the lip with the inside part of my thumb, holding it in place, because otherwise it likes to fold open a little bit. Doing a lot of shaping coming from the top down, just like I would be, working with a bowl. Here again, same thing, kind of starting at the top and working down to leave that little bit of a waistline in there. Holding that lip in place with my thumb.
No, because I can't wait for you to get there. Are you going to texture the handle as well, or put just a plain handle?
I did a whole series of them with textured handles, and I didn't like it. So when I do it again, I'll definitely just do regular pulled handles. I thought that tying the handle into the body would work for me, and I didn't care for it.
We'll go with it. Didn't look like it would be comfortable.
It was comfortable. It was more of an aesthetic thing. It just didn't. Yeah, it was too much. There needed to be a break from it all somehow. This one here, I'm with that waistline in there, I'm definitely thinking about it more as a teacup, something that won't have a handle. Part of the you know me fad. You know me is taller than wide teacup with no handle, with a trimmed foot. So that kind of just finishes the bottom right there. And then a little pair of forks. And then on some more. I'm going to make a couple more. If you want to sit and watch, you can. I actually